You're listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV Network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Gene. Johnson.
The AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California. Presented by Maria Menounos and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies. This is AFTERBUZZ TV's Bates Motel After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV's Bates Motel After Show.
We keep doing the psycho music, huh? We're going back to the psycho?
Every time I hear it, my head just goes around.
Yeah.
I need new camera angles every time I hear.
Welcome back to Bates Motel, our
Here
Bates
it is.
Motel wonderful AFTERBUZZ after show. We are so excited to be back in season 2, episode 1. It feels like it's been like
Forever,
like 10 years.
Yeah.
The show we love very, very much, and we're
good.
back doing it again. We're joined, as always, by our same crew. Nando Velasquez is not here, but he will be back next week. But we do have our normal people, which are Joe Sanfelippo.
Nice to be here with you guys.
And the lovely Dua Kaissi.
Hi, that's me. Welcome, everybody.
Hi, Dua.
Hey.
Long time no see.
I know.
It's good to see you.
I know. I just made the truck up the hill earlier.
Yes.
It's been a while.
We're back.
Here we are.
And there's lots to be back with. Oh, and of course.
What's your name?
I was going to say that.
And so it begins.
My name is Joe Braswell.
I'm so glad to meet you, Joe Braswell.
Nice to meet you.
Everybody
too,
knows him by now. He needs no introduction.
He's introduction-less.
Yes.
Yes. And on the wheels of steel, on the ones and twos, I have Marissa Serafini. Hi, Marissa.
Hello, everyone. I'm glad Bates Motel is back. I'm so excited.
Me
Yeah.
too.
And they
We're all
did not
excited.
waste any time.
No.
They didn't waste any time. They got right into it. And I think they did a great job of recapping.
Yeah.
Eloquently, like subtly recapping everything. You know, it was my intention to kind of go back and watch season 1 again and watch all of our podcasts.
Did
of
you?
course, I had no time to do that.
What?
Of course.
Not
But
in the podcast?
not yet. Of course, I had no time to do
I've
that.
listened to them 14 times since last year. It's all I do.
Some of us have a line. But unfortunately, I didn't do that. But in watching the season, the season 2 opener, I felt like I was really brought up to speed on everything.
Yeah.
Everything, like Norman with the taxidermy. Hey, remember, Norman's crazy, you know.
It's a great, they did a really good job, actually, setting the table last year, creating the world, if you will, the town and the characters, and so much richer and more depth than we know from the Psycho characters, right? And then also giving us a real true origin story with Norma and Norman, sort of tapping into their, incestuous, kind of very strange relationship.
It's a little weird.
And also getting into Norman's losing time, and then Dylan the brother. So and then the town itself and the sheriff, and lots going on here. Lots going on. And we pick up right where we left off, which, if you will remember, we left off with the lovely
Blair Watson. No longer with us.
being murdered.
Which was a little weird. I mean, it did time jump a little bit later in the episode, but it didn't. I don't remember if we predicted that it would immediately time jump, and I found it shocking that they really kind of started right from where they ended.
Yeah.
And how everything kind of.
But then they time jumped.
Yeah.
Well, then they went
only
4 months.
Yeah, only 4 months.
So we're technically behind right now.
Yeah, to a happier time. Did you notice how happy that time
It was so good, yeah.
Yeah.
4 months goes by and everything is colorful, and Norma
Rockin'
has
music, new hair.
salmon shoes.
And that feels sort of like intentional, sort of the calm before the storm. And it's also this sort of sad thing where, the moment I saw the motel's packed and Norma's bouncing around and everyone's happy and Norma's in the basement carving up a beaver. Everybody's doing their thing and happy. My man Dylan's selling weed. He's putting money on the table. I'm like, this ain't gonna last.
Nope.
You know what? It's just, you're right. It is always the calm before the
gonna
storm
last.
when Norman's carving up the beaver.
Right. Yeah.
It just,
I mean, he's really into that beaver.
It was the happiest that he looked the entire episode. Did you notice that? He was like smiling.
Yeah, well, carving beaver makes you happy.
All right, we get it.
There it is. He's going to use that joke again.
No, I won't.
No, but yeah, no, it's,
I might.
But he did. He was very happy. But before we jump in, let's go back to what we learned at the tail end of the episode. Here.
Can I ask a quick question?
Of course.
Pardon me whilst I'm interrupting you.
Please.
Do we? I don't recall from last season. He did not. We don't know for sure that he killed Watson, right? Emma.
We do not.
We don't.
Okay, so I don't believe that you were there for that podcast. I was completely shocked when we found out. I thought that, of course, yes, he did. But at the very, very last shot, when her throat was slit, she had the necklace that said B on it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And so that kind of infers that, I don't know if it infers, but it, Bradley's dad was having an affair with a woman named B. So now all of a sudden there's that whole other world of people that could have killed her, that whole kind of
Gil and
all of those people. So as much as it kind of makes you think it's Norman, that was the big question that we were all kind of working on. Did he kill her? Did he not kill her? And it's still up in the air. Right now, I don't think he did.
I don't think he did. Right now, I don't think he did. Unless it was, and it was not Bradley. We know it's not Bradley, or do we not know it's not Bradley?
We don't know it's not Bradley.
Yeah, I mean, Bradley's, number one in the clubhouse for me.
She's
really?
Oh yeah.
You know how? Well, I mean, after tonight's episode, I got to tell you can't not watch the show for 5 minutes, because if you turn your head for a second, you're going to miss something huge.
Dude, she smoked Gil so hard.
Hey, spoiler.
Well, I think if they're listening to the podcast, they saw the show.
Oh, okay, you're right. No, that's the end. But I do want to touch on the whole reintroduction of Norma and Norman, how important that was to sort of reestablish us back in that moment. Because why that was important for me is, for a guy who's been away from the show, and I did binge watch it again, but I binge watched it a while back, and then you get wrapped up in True Detective and other stuff and Blacklist and whatever else you're watching, in Hannibal, of course, which I love so much. And you jump back into this world, and I realize how very specific this world is. The tone, the feel, the color palette.
Yeah, you jumped right back
music.
in. It really kind of just completely consumes you.
Yeah, and it was really, really cool. We talk all the time, and I hate to reference other shows, but we talk all the time about, Hannibal and True Detective specifically, how important, what a great job they do with the cinematography and the mood and setting the tone and everything else. This show does it as well as anything else, because immediately, once from the first frame of video, I was like, oh, I'm back in town. Oh, the Bates Motel. And it was wonderful. And to see, Norman and Norma interacting again, like for old time's sake.
And I think that Carlton Cuse really kind of has his signature, because there's a lot of this show that really harkens back to Lost, a lot of the music, a lot of everything. And I kind of feel like, and I thought that Lost was very similar in that way, where when you watch the show, you really kind of became a part of that world. It was just, everything was so intentional and so thought out. And it was just, it was just really, really good television.
There's a very specific tone of sort of I guess there's no other way to describe it, but dread. There's a tone in this show that that something bad is about to happen. And every minute that passes by that something bad doesn't happen, it makes me more and more uncomfortable. Well, I'm like, just do it already. Something's gonna happen.
Well, that's because we know what's going to happen. I think a lot of it. I think a lot of it is because we all know the story. We know how this story ends.
Sure.
We know where this is all going to go. Eventually, this bypass is going to get, and this is going to be an old abandoned hotel, and
she's going to lose that war.
Yeah,
Right.
Poor Norma is going to be a skeleton that Norman visits way too often.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think that informs the whole show. I don't think they have to go that far to set that sense.
They don't, but it's just, much like in Hannibal, where you have the full canon, you know what's going to happen, you know everything else, and it's a great storytelling to be able to live in that world leading up to that. Bates Motel is not dissimilar. Like, we do know how this thing ends, we do know that, but it's really amazing storytelling for us to be able to still be very interested and riveted as to what's happening from moment to moment in this world.
Well, it makes the good times automatically bittersweet. Whereas if you're watching a show where you don't know how it ends up, a good time is a good time. You just take it for what it's worth, because you don't know what's coming next. But when you know how the stuff's going to end, then when things are happy and go lucky, you're like, oh, you idiots! You don't know how crappy this is all going to get.
Yeah.
So
that's interesting.
In that initial moment, when Norman's sort of telling the story to Norma in the beginning about, this is what happened, and that was this, and what happened to me.
At the beginning or at the end? Because at the beginning, he really didn't tell the story.
No, he didn't tell the proper story, but
Correct.
He's saying something happened, and it just, the way Vera Farmiga played it, who's, shout out to her because she's amazing.
I might have said that I think she's a genius on a couple of occasions.
I'm shocked she didn't get an Emmy for that.
It's absurd.
Travesty.
It's absurd.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, really dumb. But it felt like she was very, very Like when
Did
someone
they feel that
she's
way?
like, what else, Norman?
Like, or she's framing it, like, did you kill somebody else?
What
Shit.
else? What happened now? There was that moment. I mean, did you catch that? Did you feel
Well,
that?
I felt the first thing that I just felt like she was very, very insensitive to the entire situation.
Right.
And when Norman was the only one, and mind you, just a little sidebar at the funeral. I don't know if you guys noticed this. Norman was the only one at the funeral.
Only one crying like that.
Well, and also the only one that wasn't covered with an umbrella.
Yeah,
he was the only one that was getting wet.
Yeah.
And that whole everybody else was covered with an umbrella. He was the only one that
Yeah.
really seemed
Yeah.
distraught about it,
Right.
and like completely torn apart. And even the scene in the car and the scene when he was when Norman was telling his mother what happened, she was so insensitive. She was just your teacher.
Well, let me ask you a question. Was it true insensitivity, or was it a woman whose son she knows is capable of killing, and he blacks out when he does it, and he doesn't remember it, and all the signs are there that this could have happened with this lady? Do you think she's kind of protecting him, going, you know what? She wasn't that important to you. Just move on and don't think about it and don't remember what happened.
I think that she was doing it at the end on the couch when she was like, she was seducing you. You're a good boy. You're a good boy. I think she was doing it then, but at the beginning, I didn't see it. At the beginning, I just saw her as being insensitive and kind of just, she was just your teacher. But I could see how you guys would think that.
Yeah, I just read it as probably somewhere between. I read it as like, oh no, what did you do? Like that's kind of how I read it. But we'll see. So we jumped ahead to 4 months later, as we talked about.
Well, after Bradley tries to kill herself, it's an important little tidbit there.
Exactly.
She does jump her happy ass off that bridge.
Jump off the bridge. Yeah. She is a little distraught after she's
that music that was playing. That totally, I'm about to kill myself music. What
yeah,
was that song?
I don't know. I don't know what that.
I don't want to hear it. It makes me want to kill myself.
Yeah, it was very depressing.
I'm gonna ignore that song.
And look, after she killed Miss Watson, she had to go do something. So she felt a little guilty about that. I think that happened.
You think Bradley killed Miss Watson?
I'm just calling it right now.
I think they're opening the line of possibilities. I don't think that.
Yeah,
she did.
that's probably too. That's probably too. Anyway, so she jumps off the bridge, tries to kill herself, does not succeed.
Bradley's character has gotten so dark. Like,
Yeah.
do you remember her at the beginning of
Sure.
season 1?
Yeah.
She was just like this blonde, like, hey, get in my car.
It's a very cool turn.
Yeah.
Very cool turn.
It must be fun to play that.
Yeah, and so we're back, and so 4 months later, the birds are chirping. The
sun is shining. The motel's full.
The music's playing.
We got our girl working we got Emma working the front desk. Norman's cutting up a beaver like we talked about.
They're playing. The Haim is playing. The soundtrack is great, and so things seem to be happy. But again, like I said, we know that this can't last for long. One of the first things we do see, in the interactions, we see what Norman is actually in this taxidermy hobby is getting. More and more proficient.
Yeah, he's getting better.
He's got his first real sort of complicated animal there that he's very, very excited about making happen. We see also that it's inferred that Dylan is doing pretty well for himself in the business, and he still his open secret is that he's working and he's bringing in money.
She doesn't want it. It's his dirty weed money.
And we also see that the hotel is thriving, but we know that won't last long because there's a bypass coming.
Yep.
So we sort of know what's going to happen there. But this world they've created. We also see our girl working the front desk.
Emma.
Yeah. So and she seems to
Velma with an oxygen tank.
Yeah, Velma with an oxygen tank.
Come on, Scooby.
She's still alive and kicking.
She's still
Velma
alive and
with
kicking.
an oxygen tank. I
And she
love
still
you.
has that, and she's still sort of carrying. I mean, she feels like she's still carrying the torch for Norman. Even that short little scene where she's like, "This was returned."
Yeah, she seems bitter about it though. She
Yeah.
seems like she's so in love with him, and she just knows that it's hopeless. So now she's just like, she
like,
takes
"Oh, hey,
care of
Norman."
everything. Yeah, she takes
Yeah.
care of everything at the motel. He kind of comes and goes as he pleases. He's obviously still in love with Bradley, but
Right.
yeah, I think that at the end she will always, have that warm spot in her heart, but she's just kind of,
Right. So the Miss Watson thing, we find out, like, obviously the world finds out that Miss Watson is gone, and so that's we have that that happened earlier. So
we have a driving lesson that comes up. We have this which I thought was a fun device to remind us about the bypass, and then just to remind us that it's
the relationship.
Yeah, and it's hard enough to learn to drive when you're 16, much less when you're crazy and so's mom.
Right.
So it adds another layer of burden, and then we also get to go by the cemetery, so mom can do, like, God damn it, Norman, enough with this dead shit.
Yeah.
Like you're dissecting things constantly. You're spending so much time at the cemetery. You need to be among the living.
And you need to be normal. Have you guys noticed? I mean, it'd be a fun drinking game if everybody took a shot every time Norma said normal in this episode.
Norman, and normal. Yes.
Yes. Just be normal. This is not normal.
so
Norman,
funny.
you're not normal.
There's a reason why her mama named her Norma. Yeah. There's a reason why she named her boy Norman, because he wants everyone to be normal. I'm sure the grandma was not a good person either. I'm just gonna guess.
Abnormal. No,
Yeah.
never mind.
But yeah,
Old abs. That was terrible. That was awful.
No, but yeah,
I apologize,
I
everybody.
do love that. I do love that scene in the car because it does sort of reestablish for us that they're very weird dynamic, and it's
Absolutely.
it's this age old thing. It's the mother and the daughter, the mother and the son driving, like you said, Joe. That scene we've seen 1,000 times play out all over the country. But then they're both nuts, and so and their interaction is so weird and incestuous that it just makes for something sort of interesting.
Well, I think it also reminds you how controlling and almost like manipulative she can be. Are you going to pass him? Well, if you are going to pass him, you need to do this.
So
and
great.
then how he is almost just like she's a little bit wilder and he's not. He's like, well, you're going over the speed limit,
Right.
And you're doing this, and he's almost giving it back to her because he's just holding it all in and
Right.
he's sick of taking it. But it definitely reminds you of the dynamic of their relationship.
And it's not only that, like in the moment where he's driving, it really, it plays out that sort of anger that's just under the surface for Norman. Like he's like, Mom, like he's really pissed, but it's kind of like, it's just under the surface, and she's doing the naggy thing. And like, I'm almost like, man, you're going to end up in a rocking chair.
Yep.
just bones and just sitting. Can I tell you though? I love her so much. I love Vera Farmiga so much because
I didn't get that actually.
I've never mentioned
from
it.
13 episodes last year. I
Never
didn't get
said
that.
That's all he talked about all last season.
So goddamn good. But just that little car ride and just the whole passive aggressive, the weird thing. Well, if you're gonna do it now, like you said. And then when he's floor it. So it's that manic excitement that she gets.
Sure, that's a really good. And it's just.
She had
all
another
over
blowout
microcosm.
this episode
And
too.
we'll talk about that in later.
yeah.
But man, like she does that like sort of like weird hyper mix of like excitement and crazy and vulnerability and anger and like she's like on one hand she's like a 16-year-old, another hand she's like a seductress, another hand she's like conniving, but it all is like happening simultaneously.
Yep.
She's amazing.
Here's all I can say. I'd have definitely gone after her in college. There's no way around
Oh,
it. She's BF crazy, and I'd have been.
I think we established this last that you and I both would just be chopped up
I'd have been
somewhere.
chasing her down the street.
we'd both be chopped up somewhere after Norma got a hold of us, but we would have tried.
But she whips off the road on the way back. She whips off into because they're doing that bypass, and she's up in that guy's grill.
Yes.
That's unacceptable.
Yes, which I was very surprised to not see her sort of go off on that guy. I was waiting. This is the thing. I was waiting for the classic Norma meltdown. I thought in that moment, she has those weird things where she goes super calm, and she kind of walks away and she comes back. You know what?
Yep.
I just knew that was going to happen. When she got in the car and drove away, I'm like, oh, that went pretty well. And then,
that guy's really lucky.
that went reasonably well for Norma, But then of course we get to the
Save it for the city council, man.
city council meeting.
But first, we get Bradley. Bradley she goes after Gil a little bit, and I think it's such an interesting moment. It's almost like the turning point for her as a character because she goes to this guy that her dad worked with, and I really think she expected that because I'm a cute little girl, and he's a man who my father knew. I'm going to talk to him, and he's going to tell me some things.
Right.
And he really did give her the lay of the land for real. Like your father had no loyalty. He was a piece of shit. And I can tell you more if you want to come inside. And I think that is for her the total loss of innocence. Like the attempt to kill herself seemed to me like desperate, and I don't want to do this anymore. But that was like if there was anything left of childhood, if there was anything left of innocence in her, I think that exchange whipped it away.
Interesting.
Like
I could see that.
You're not a kid anymore. I don't owe you shit. And if you want any information about your dad, who I probably killed, you're gonna have to come give me some love for it.
And by the way, exactly, because
Because you're hot.
Yeah, I do want to get back to that, but I do want to stick with the Norma one. I want to go instead of going linear. I want to go into the Norma.
All right then.
Thing, and then we can jump back and then go to the Bradley route.
Hold on, just 1 second.
Yes.
Before we, did Gil actually kill Bradley's dad, or is this something that we still don't know yet?
I don't think we know for sure. It's certainly implied, though.
He's just an asshole to be an asshole, and maybe he doesn't.
He said at one point, he said, I thought my problem with this guy was over. I'm pretty sure he did, but I don't think.
I think the assumption is that he did.
Yeah, I don't think we've gotten.
I need to go back and rewatch, but I'm sure the internet will tell me.
Yes, we will get yelled at
very angrily, like everyone knows that
you're a horrible person,
bastard. But I the assumption is that
that
Bill's
happened.
responsible, yeah.
All right.
But so to Norma. So we see Norma is very much settling. She's settling in. She's just doing her thing, and there's something very admirable about this woman who's like just trying to get a fresh start for her and her boys. She's just trying to get this thing going.
Crawl up the cesspool.
Man, you're just kind of rooting for her, and everything's happening, and then the goddamn the interchange or whatever it is, the bypass is there, and dadgummit, she's gonna go down to the city council and she's gonna give them a piece of her mind or let them know, and she's all gussied up and she's so excited. And this is the brilliance of Norma, is she doesn't have a plan.
Well, and that's the deal over and over, right?
I think that she was just planning on going there and talking to them and having him. I don't think that she was expecting his reaction, because did you see how? And I loved her reactions,
right?
Because they were so she was shocked and she kept kind of moving her head back and she was really like
the best.
What? You're not going to hear me? And this guy was a complete and total dick, in her words, to her. And I don't think that that's what she expected. And so, once again, she's going to have to, survive, find a way to survive and kind of crawl up and do things her way.
And we've seen this before with her. Like, she sets herself up. She gets so excited. Norman, you have to stand up for yourself in this life. And I'm going to go down there. I'm going to take care of it. And and I'm on the internet. And she was so excited. She was bouncing. Remember, she bounced back onto the bed to get on the internet to make sure she was on the list.
Yeah, her little feet were kicked in the air like a teenager, and she's just bobbing her head.
And she's getting into it. That's how she does. She gets herself way up here, and then reality just smacks the shit out of her. And he was so condescending and so snide.
Yeah.
And that was a beautiful outburst.
It's beautiful. Well, before we get to that, I think that it's important to know that this is a reoccurring thing with Norma, right?
That's what I'm saying.
Like you said, but very specifically, there's something about she thinks, I'm going to solve this, but I'm going to get dressed up in a cute little dress, and I'm just going to go in there and I'm going to let them know, or I'm going to charm them, or I'm going to maybe half seduce them, or I'm going to smile, or I'm going to bring an apple pie over.
Same thing with Bradley.
I was just thinking that.
Same thing with
very,
Bradley
very
going to
similar with Bradley.
I'm gonna just figure this whole thing out. I'm gonna wink a little bit, and she got all dressed up and she sat there and she says, "Well, I just want you to know that I have a business, and the overpass is here."
Yeah.
That was supposed to be it. That was like, they're like, well, excuse me, ma'am.
Let's stop everything.
That lovely dress and that hair makes me think that,
Done.
But he, like you said, he was very condescending, and he was very appropriately so, I think.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. But he did not expect, and this is the
Wait a
why.
minute, appropriately so?
I think so.
about
it was a little excessive, I think.
Well,
it was a little excessive.
Well, I guess you have several options at that point. You can kind of shut this thing down. Let's assume for a moment he's a city council member. You've got all these big box stores that are probably going to come line up on the highway. You've got federal highway dollars coming in. You've got state highway dollars coming in. You got a tremendous amount of money riding on it. Let's assume that there's probably a great deal of kickback happening. So there's millions upon millions of dollars that are on the line for tons of companies that are involved in the actual building of the road, the zoning for the road, all of the actual equipment and the material that goes into the road. You know that he's getting pieces of all that shit because he's on the city council, decided to go get the road. So at this point, she comes in, she says, well, I'm not going to have full hotel rooms? Huh? Are you kidding? Do you have any idea what went into this? Are you insane?
Well, I think the notion that, why I think his reaction was appropriate, because he let her have her say. He's like, and he really he
let her hang herself.
He's like, yeah, and he said, well, he's like, no, tell us, please. And then she sort of hung and said, well, so you're saying this thing's going to bring us in millions of dollars is not appropriate, but because your hotel and your 8 rooms are going to lose money, that the whole town should suffer. Are we done here?
Yeah.
And I thought that was kind of appropriate, and she's like,
well, you know what? You're a dick.
Which is the ultimate comeback. Like that just shut. And what I love about that moment so much is the meeting's adjourned, and she's like, you're a dick. And everyone's like, well, let's sit back down.
Right?
No, everybody stopped.
Next.
Everyone sits back down like, oh, what's going to happen?
It's about to
here?
get good.
Let's hear what she has to say.
And then she delivers one of the all-time great Norma meltdowns, and not only just it's that mixture of like a temper tantrum, and I'm angry, and I might kill you, but and it's like, it's so immature, but so like desperate the way she plays it as well, and then she starts calling him out in the room. It's great.
You're worried about the books. You're worried about whether or not there's axe murderers and rapists. Well, that's what this world is.
Yes, it's a cesspool.
Oh.
You better educate yourselves. Yeah, she's very reactive.
Yes, she is.
Very.
She's very reactive. So, and it's also when she's sort of, she is as that, like when she's in a corner, it's setting up this personality that when she's backed into a corner, who knows what she will do or say. She might, she might do anything. She might kill somebody. She might yell. She might do whatever it takes just to solidify her position and point or protect her family. Which there's someone. If she wasn't crazy, I think that'd be cool.
I think it makes it fascinating watching her, and probably fascinating for Vera Farmiga to play her as a character, because she can go to so many places with that. It's she can really have a lot of fun with it, and so I bet she's having a blast.
Yeah, it sounds like it. So,
I don't know if I've mentioned. I think she's really, really good. I might have said something about it.
Not in the past 3 minutes.
All right, well, there you go.
So let's jump back. Let's talk about Norman a little bit here, right? So let's go back to the funeral where we see Norman sort of overreaction. It appears, his overreaction, which to us plays out as what, guilt, right?
Guilt and either I wouldn't say shame, but I think it's definitely guilt, because I think that he feels completely responsible, and I don't think he thinks for 1 second that he did anything.
Right.
Like, he's completely unaware of the fact that it could have been him that did something.
Well, I think that we know now, based on his sort of confession at the end, that he genuinely is upset about, like, he blacked out. He could have helped her and he liked her, but I think that in the moment we sort of thought, like, oh, he killed her. Like, that's why he's so vocally guilty.
It was interesting because when he told the story to his mother, he was talking about how she went into the room and she went to undress, but wasn't he imagining that? Wasn't that part of something that he was imagining? Because then he saw the vision of his mother, and then he kind of left. So how much of that was actually real?
Well, isn't that what he said, though? He's trying to explain. He's trying to find a way to say that to his mother without telling her that, right? And he said, I felt wrong, but I felt right. And then I felt, and I'm guessing at that point he's getting to the image of her instead of Miss Watson.
Yeah.
And then I think he kind of shut himself down at that point. Like, I can't tell you that I got a chubby thinking about you dressed in her clothes.
Yeah.
He was working on the. I mean, that's what happened, though. Isn't it?
That's essentially
It was,
that's what's inferred.
Yeah, there's definitely something incestual there.
There's this whole thing, and then look, there, the whole Norma thing too is also they're such close talkers, and she's always
way too much touching.
Just so way close talkers, like nose to nose, having conversations. Like her chin is on his shoulder a lot, and he's just kind of cuddled up, and it's just a little, it's funny, and they fight like that.
Look at the face, I can't handle it.
Back to the outpour of emotion there. It's also a key insight into Norman's sort of personality as well. Whereas this is a person who is, who can't control. Like, he's got a controlled side, but just underneath the surface is like all these whatever it is ready to just burst out. So when he's angry, he's gonna black out and go crazy. He might kill someone. When he's sad, he's just gonna bawl uncontrollably sad. And it's like, this is sort of how it sort of again sets the table as a kind of personality you're dealing with Norman.
It's like he has no filter. He is who he is, which in a way is kind of endearing.
Right.
It's like
except when he kills people.
It's
allegedly.
Well, yeah, I think that's the brilliance in his character. It's like you can make a person that is a killer endearing. He's going to cry about this. He could have killed somebody, but yet he writes Bradley every single day.
Yeah.
And he does have a lot of soft places in his heart, and he's actually a good person. He just, can't.
What do those letters say? Hello, Bradley. I stuffed a beaver today. Thought of you. No?
Oh.
Only the first 6. After that, he's changed.
Sanfelippo's sad he didn't think of that joke first.
He was kind of sad. It was a good one.
It was good.
I don't know. But so we see Norman, going, doing his thing. We see the driving thing. But we also see him going to visit the grave on his own, to where he sees someone there.
He sees some random dude, takes a bunch of pictures.
Was it a random dude?
No.
For a second,
No.
was that Gil?
No,
that was
some other guy.
Dude.
Who?
Maybe I'm just thinking of him from
I don't think it was Gil, though.
No, it wasn't Gil for sure, but I think was he in season 1?
He's familiar. I think I've seen the actor before, but I don't remember if he's been in the show before.
Internet, please help us.
Yes. Yeah. Don't yell at us, but please help us.
Please comment right
Comment
in.
gently and help us out. Do that.
Yeah.
But so he runs out of there. He gets away, but he gets all those pictures because he does not have any clue that he might have been a part of this. I don't think he has any. There's none of that in him.
Yeah, and so he takes pictures and goes to our favorite guy, Sheriff.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that was an interesting scene.
I would not want to sit down with Sheriff Romero. He starts asking questions. He's very well written, and he's very well acted, and he just starts. He just slides right into those questions.
I have a surprise for you, Joe.
Tell me.
Sheriff Romero, Nestor, will probably be on this program.
Ooh.
He might be in studio.
He might be.
love that.
He might be under the table right now.
He might be sitting on that couch right there
Asking questions?
next week,
Oh, yeah?
or the week after.
That would be fantastic.
I don't know. We're working on it, but he's definitely going to come on the show.
That's
That's nice.
fantastic.
So we can
I'm
ask
a
him
big
all this
fan.
stuff. So yeah, we're all big fans, so we can talk to him as well.
It's such a good, so good.
Yeah.
So good. And I think that the fact that, Norman just wants to get to the bottom of like whoever killed him, whoever killed Miss Watson. And it's interesting how it's funny how the line of questioning from Sheriff Romero might seem like he is accusing Norman or trying to get to the bottom of it. But for some reason, I felt like he was asking to protect Norman.
Right.
And he kind of wanted to know, he's like, he doesn't need to go by that grave anymore. He doesn't need to go by that site because bad people are over there and he doesn't want
Right.
Norman. Like, that's kind of the vibe that I got. That they want you to think that it's because he's he's suspicious of Norman, but he's not. He's actually protective.
I mean, what's our take on Sheriff? We've been back and forth on Romero last season. What's our take on Sheriff Romero? Good guy, bad guy?
He lives in a town that's, it's a gray town. There's no black and white in this town. It's a gray town, and I think he's a gray sheriff. But I think as far as the questions go, I think that's just his natural personality.
But I mean, just as a general, he's a
think
gray
he's gray.
sheriff.
I think so.
But is he?
I think he's a decent.
Is he a decent man?
No, I think he's
who's
decent.
Just trying to keep the peace within the confines of this wacky town. Where all the moving parts of this town.
Let me give you my 2 cents on
this. Does he have
this.
an agenda? I would love to hear your 2 cents.
Here's my 2 cents.
Let's hear it.
I think we got some very clear stuff with Bradley going to Gil with that naivete, like, hey, I want to know about my dad. Well, then get on your knees and I'll tell you anything you want to know afterwards.
Right.
Then we got Vera goes before the city council, like you said, all gussied up. Well, I don't like this road. Okay, well, too goddamn bad.
Right.
And so we've got some really serious, some very clear moments of power versus not power. And I think with Sheriff Romero, it is interesting because this town is very clearly, it's a microcosm for the world. But there are powerful people and not powerful people, and he's kind of the guy who's kind of negotiating between all that. Yeah. So I think that he's going to do his. It seems to me anyway, thus far, he's done his best to be decent within the confines of that.
Right, I agree. I think that there's. Sheriff Romero's definitely doing some dirt and definitely knows more than he should, and we know that he knows more. But I think that I think he's just trying to keep the shit in the horse, as you said, Joe.
Yeah, there was that whole storyline, and I should have gone back to watch season 1 again. There was a whole storyline with the money, and he definitely has some dealings. I think that he definitely has some hands in some cookie jars.
Yes.
I think I might have made a prediction that I thought that he was like the boss last season, and I don't know. The thing is, I know that they have not revealed enough for me to even take an educated guess at this point.
Yeah.
Because just when you think you're going to be way off because they're going to unravel things. So
I think I made that prediction too, that he's the big boss, the big overboss.
Yeah, there was and there was also another question that I wanted to ask you later, Sanfelippo, and this has to do with our finale show that we did with Nando. You asked a really pivotal question.
I did?
You did.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And,
you were eloquent and brilliant, whatever it was.
You asked a really interesting question, and you never had the chance to answer it because you were not here. So I wanted to get your,
Is that a toupee, Flippo?
Yeah.
No, this is all real.
Okay.
I comb over from the back, and it just goes right to the top, up and over.
That's answered.
Done.
Mystery solved.
I
Myth busted.
I do want to talk about Norman.
What's it?
Do you want me to ask the question?
Yes.
Okay, I can ask the question. You'll probably remember this question. So, Norma was raped by her brother, right? Remember? Mm-hmm. Norma was raped by her brother when she was like 17 years old. So, what is Norman, or actually I thought Dylan is Dylan actually Norma's uncle? No.
That's right.
Yeah, remember this?
Yeah.
Hold on, it would be her nephew. It'd be her nephew and her son.
Her nephew's son.
Right.
Ooh, God, I don't know.
That would explain a lot of, and you asked it for Norman, but I actually think it's true for Dylan because that would explain a lot of why she kind of holds so much animosity towards Dylan and really doesn't kind of like accept her.
That makes sense.
Accept him as her son.
That's a good question.
And she's
you asked it. It was your question.
Oh, there we go.
I'm brilliant.
Whoever said that.
That's
Joe,
interesting.
you were saying something?
Ooh, I don't know. Because she does treat him much more like a brother than a son, and it's much more of the whole dynamic. He calls her Norma, and
she really just seems to did not like him, and
it's interesting. I don't know. I'm gonna think on it.
Okay. So, but go ahead.
One thing we haven't talked about is Norman when he goes to see Bradley. and he's so eloquent and unequivocal in his love for her and his devotion to her. I wrote you every day. I just want to let you know that when you tried to kill yourself, and you must have felt so alone, so lost, so hopeless, and you should never feel that way because I'm here for you no matter what. And she doesn't even look up. And he comes out with all of that. And
he arrived in the nick of time, by the way.
Right?
Yeah, in the nick of time.
Hollow
It's
Point
like
would have blown her face off.
Yes, and we see that Hollow Point is very good at blowing faces off.
It does. It works well.
It works well.
This just in.
Yes. That was very sort of heartbreaking in that moment. And it's weird how we can feel so much for these,
But I think what makes it so brilliant is that it actually, like, I feel like this totally parallels Norman's relationship with Norma and Norman's relationship with Bradley, and where it's going to go is I think that he's going to allow himself to be completely and totally manipulated by Bradley because his mother does it to him.
Right.
And this is just, because she's going to use the hell out of him now because she doesn't care about Norman. She cares about Dylan, which was obvious because she's been emailing him. Yeah. And I think that that's going to be a crazy little love triangle later on in the season.
Yeah, I agree. There is we have that sort of episode with Norman and Bradley, but then we also have the Bradley Dylan exchange, which is very cool too, and we get to see Dylan. Dylan's the one guy in the entire series, and with the exception of Emma, who who just seems like normal, heart of gold, really in it for all the right reasons, which he can't possibly survive. Right? He's not gonna make it.
Well, we didn't expect him to get out of season 1, so let's be honest.
Yeah, maybe season 3, but he's not long for the world. He's just too earnest. But he's doing all the right things. He explains it. No, he's clearly likes, is into Bradley. Yeah. Clearly is into her. Clearly also wants to protect his brother, who he knows is in love with her. This thing is gonna blow the fuck up, right? Yep. I mean, you've got Dylan and her, and she's manipulating, and then this, and then Norma's floating around, and Emma, and like it's all bad.
Yeah, she's not an easy one to turn down over time. I don't imagine that.
No.
That's a tough one to walk away from.
I mean, she's a little bit crazy, and she's a little bit I definitely think that
all the ingredients are there. A little bit crazy, a lot bit
she
hot.
Came back, a lot bit hot, a little bit crazy. That's it. Like
that's a lot.
Isn't there like a weird curve, like the crazy to hot curve?
Oh, absolutely.
That you see, like that's like
it's like a mathematical formula.
It is. It's something like I think it's from Barney from How I Met Your Mother or something, but it's like a weird, the hot versus crazy.
Hot crazy scale.
And then the scale. Hot crazy scale. Thank you. The hot crazy scale.
Marissa Serafini, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah,
coming through like a champ.
Yeah, the hot crazy scale. She's both on the. I mean, look, Norma's doing pretty well on the hot crazy scale too. Actually.
Norma's top of the list.
Right in the zone. Yeah.
She's in the sweet spot of the map. That's for sure. But I really, really liked what Dylan said though. He's like, that's my brother, and there's some lines you don't cross. And I thought that was really great.
Yeah.
Stand-up guy.
Yeah, I bought it too.
I bought it.
He means it.
But it's not going to last.
Until she.
It's
until she.
What's the scale, Marissa?
Hot crazy.
Crazy scale.
And a line like that will only make Bradley want him more. Yeah. I'm sorry, we can't do this.
Right.
There's nothing more sexy than the unattainable.
Is it really?
Yeah. Well, that's
I got to start turning my wife down. I'm going to be like, no. This is not for you.
Well, she's got to ask first.
Oh, damn it. That's right.
That's the first.
I knew there was a loophole to my plan.
But but the fact that you talked about the transformation of Bradley, and she was, now that she's come back, it's like I said, we talked about she's come back to Dylan as this new gun toting kind of like running mascara eyeliner broad. Yeah. That's rough. So but we do see that after she gets that information from Dylan, which is sort of all the information she needs, she then goes on a mission, which I knew that was going to end badly. I think it was going to end that badly. I knew she was playing him the whole time. I think she's going to take him out. And even when she pulled the gun, I thought like, oh, here we go. It's going to be,
Well, she obviously knew, like, she didn't even try and get any information. She pulled the gun, and it's not like, okay, now tell me.
Right.
She just, it's like she's like, I know that you're not going to give me the information. I just want you dead.
Yeah.
Or did she get to the bottom of it beforehand?
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't know either.
I think the bottom line is that, I think it's great that they sort of set her up as this I don't give a F person, right? Wow. Because she's a person who tried to kill herself twice. She's on the verge, on the edge. She's back.
Twice.
She doesn't care.
Oh, the gun
to her face, maybe. You don't think that was real?
Well,
I mean, I don't know.
It was a little melodramatic, but
right.
she might have.
30 more seconds. Who knows?
It doesn't take much to make those guns go boom. I mean, they're not designed to not go.
So now she's like in a world where she doesn't give a crap. But what does she do when that thing happens in that crazy, exciting moment? And she goes straight to our boy Norman and says,
"Did you mean it?"
Yeah, the patsy. Which sets up, I think, what we know the season will be about, right?
Yeah, this is the night we were screwing all night. Remember?
Right. And this is also, I mean, what a tangled web. So you have this sort of crime, mid-level crime boss guy who's directly connected to Dylan, who turns up dead. People aren't going to like that he's dead. The bosses aren't going to like that. Of course, Sheriff Campbell's going to have to. I mean, Sheriff Romero's going to have to investigate that. Norman's going to know what's going on. Dylan's going to eventually have to know what's going on, or will he won't. It's going to be a really the tale of intrigue already just set up in this one. Episode is like, I can't wait to see how this plays out.
I love how they layer it.
Right.
They really do a good job of like layering it. Like we're just going to kind of pepper all this stuff in, and yeah. It's exciting. It's good stuff.
It's very exciting. We're very excited to see where this goes. I think that's everything. Did we get into we talked about the Norma last confession situation and how Norma handled that?
A little bit.
All right.
A little bit.
I don't think that she was surprised at all. And I love how she immediately rationalized it. She looked at him, she was like, all right, you were being seduced.
Right.
That's like, I'm going to tell you exactly the story that we're going to go with, because she's going to have to, and immediately she becomes that nurturing mother.
Yeah.
She was like, Norman, you have to stop doing this. You have to stop doing this. Like, you're acting crazy. What are you doing? And the second that he confessed to her, she completely flipped it around, and she was like, all right, you're a good boy.
And don't forget that Norma has this weird jealousy streak going on, right? She has this overprotective, I don't want you with other women thing. She kind of floats it out there, but really, so that moment when she's like, well, did you sleep with her?
Which is an odd question. That's not like, isn't that an odd question?
No, I think that's a legit question.
No,
really?
That's absolutely.
If you're Norma, it's a perfectly because I don't care about anything else. Did you sleep with her?
Well, I mean, he told her. It seemed like she was attracted to me, and
Yeah, but it's a Norma question because she doesn't want anybody with Norman at all.
Well, it's a question. I feel like it's a question of like a jealous girlfriend, not a question of a mother.
Exactly.
Oh, I don't know, man. I've got kids. You got kids. If I heard that story, I'd be like, I wouldn't say, did you sleep with her? I'd be like, well, wait, tell me exactly what went on.
But
Slow down.
Context, but you're not Norma Bates. Like the context of the messenger. Like Norma Bates asking Norma like in the middle of this sort of like confession. She's like, whoa. Did you guys do anything? You sleep together? Like that's not the first question. That's not how you slow it down and ask.
So do you think she was asking like the Norma like is there DNA of yours there? Do you think that's what she was asking?
No, I think it's a pure jealousy thing.
Jealousy.
This is, I mean, we know from Psycho. We know the whole thing. We know from season 1. Norma is not trying to have Norman be with these whores.
Do they ever sleep together?
Who? Norman, Norma?
Yeah, like do they? Is it ever actually like, I don't know from like the movies or anything? Does it ever like?
No,
do they like? Does it or doesn't it?
They don't say it's not part of the Psycho
canon,
if you will. But we will. I mean, who knows? I don't know that there would be actual sex, but
that would be crazy. That would be nuts.
I don't know that they're gonna go there. I'd be surprised if they went there. But they're going to go close. I predicted this season they will go close. In fact, let's get some news and gossip first.
AfterBuzz TV News.
I read. Do any of you watch American Horror Story?
Yes.
So Taissa Farmiga is Vera Farmiga's sister. 21 years younger than her.
Everyone thinks it's her daughter, but it's her sister.
Her sister. And what I find so fascinating about this is that actually she's the youngest of 7 children, and she never wanted to get into show business. But in 2011, when Vera Farmiga made her directorial debut in the movie Higher Ground, she needed somebody to play a younger version of her character, and talked her sister into playing it. And her sister at the time was 15 years old, did an amazing job. It did an amazing job at all like the independent film circuits, and now she is doing really well and
her sister's
successful.
Good.
Yeah, is there a picture? Do we have a picture?
Jeans. I don't think so.
Oh,
They
look exactly alike. Exactly alike. So I just think it would be kind of funny and interesting if we, just kind of piggyback on that for news and gossip, if they actually brought her in for the show to play a young Norma.
Right.
I think that it would be really cool to kind of, play a young Norma. They look. I actually thought that it was her daughter as well, and she's still young. She was, 16 in 2011, so that makes her what, like 19 now?
I don't know.
That's how the math works. Yes.
Yeah, 3 plus 6.
3 plus 6
Yeah.
to 7. Carry the.
All right.
Oh no, she's 46.
Yes.
How did that happen?
Yes,
And then what was the thing? We're also, who else is going to be on the show this season? They're going to introduce, like, as far as characters, they're going to introduce, what is it? Not Norman's father.
No, they are.
Oh, yeah. See, don't they look alike?
They look alike. She's adorable. They're both adorable.
Yeah.
No,
I think
look
that
at
she
them.
would, I think that she should play a
look at
young
that one.
Norma. Yeah.
That's sweet.
Is it Norma's mother or Norma's father? Isn't it Norma's father is going to be on this season?
I think so. I
Yeah.
can't, I'm not going to even touch that one because
There's going to be, I know there's going to be
a
a big character from the past is definitely going to come back this season again.
Well, good. Well, I mean, we're very, very excited for season 2 and to be bringing this back to you every week. But let's get into predictions.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
Joseph Salvatore Sanfelippo.
Well, I think it's pretty clear that Bradley's going to rely heavily.
What is that?
Doesn't matter what that is. I think it's pretty clear that Bradley is going to rely heavily on Norman to give her an alibi for having blown Gil's head off. But I think that Emma is going to be drawn into that inevitably. And I think that Emma's going to have to choose eventually whether or not she's going to support this thing, and that's going to be a heartbreaking decision for her. And I think that that's going to be some character stuff between Emma and Norman long term. Because I think everybody else will kind of like whatever, but Emma's going to kind of smell it because Emma's got a nose for that kind of stuff.
Okay. Dua?
Well, it is a little bit early, I think, in this game to make predictions, but I definitely think
Part of our show.
Well, I definitely think, as I said earlier, I'm going to harken back to, I definitely think that the Dylan, Bradley, and Norman thing is going to become a serious, kind of love triangle.
Yep.
I think that, that's all I got for right now. You're gonna have to give me some time.
All right.
What do you got, Braz?
I'm taking some big swings.
Take a swing,
I'm
Braz.
taking a big swing.
He's calling his shot, people. He's pointing at center field right now.
It's a big season-long swing.
Bum, bum, bum.
Ultimately,
Bum, bum, bum.
thank you. Prediction.
Bum, bum. That's all I got.
Ultimately, okay, thank you. Ultimately, I think that the way this thing's going to play out with the Norman and Bradley is obviously, the season will continue on with Bradley sort of stringing Norman along and them helping each other and going back and forth and whatnot. Norman will feel ultimately betrayed by Bradley. I think I predicted this last season. I'm going to stick with it. Norman is going to kill Bradley. I think Bradley is going to be Norman's sort of first
He's gonna
female
pop the cherry there.
kill there. I also do think it will also happen in the shower. I think that I think Bradley's going to go down in the shower in room number 4 or whatever that room is, and it's gonna. I don't know how it's gonna work. I thought it was gonna be him at one point, but I really think it's gonna be Bradley, and it's gonna be a situation where Norman is totally upset and angry by being used by Bradley in the way that he's used by her, and Norman's gonna take her out.
That's a good prediction.
Well, that would start kind of like once he kills somebody in the shower of room 4, that would start the pattern that he continuously kills again and again.
Well, it doesn't mean that he's going to kill someone every week. It could be every 2 years, but that's, I'm just saying, I don't know. But at least that I think that will start the pattern. But I don't know that he's going to go full-blown psychopath like Dexter by season 3. But I do know that I do think Norman's going to make a kill this year. I do think it's going to be Bradley.
Do we know how much time we have?
Until-
how long we have until Vera Farmiga's character is dead? Because
she's
in the
sitting in the
movies,
rocking chair?
in the movie Psycho, he wasn't that old, and
No.
he's like 18 now, right?
No,
I felt like he was in his 40s, right?
He's 16 or 17. He wasn't not in his 40s. I don't know what
Oh,
movie
he
you
was
were
like
watching.
late 20s.
Really?
Late 20s. He was he's mid to late 20s. He was
Yeah.
young.
So
Very
this
young.
there's
All right.
only like he only has a few years to go completely off the handle here.
And I don't know exactly.
I mean, in
if
your 40s, that's old. I mean, when you get in your 40s, that's when things get deep. So that's my bad. You're right.
Thank you for joining us here at AfterBuzz after Bates Motel After Show.
And thank you for making us number 1. We're number 1 right now.
Oh,
Are we really?
Wow.
Yeah, we're number 1, and this is our first show, so that means that everybody's been going back and watching the
Well, thank
past
you for
seasons.
downloading.
I
and
hope we were
watching.
brilliant.
Yeah.
Oh, please, and thank you for downloading us on iTunes and commenting. And please continue to comment and good or bad, rate us. Helps other people find us as well, and on YouTube as well. We appreciate all of you.
Although,
Joe
please,
Flippo.
we do love 5s.
Oh, he says we love 5s. We do. Joe Flippo, where can we find you?
You can find me on the Twitters at Joe Flippo, JoeFlippo, and my website is josephsanflippo.com. AFTERBUZZ.com.
And do a Kaissi, where can we find you?
And his email is
Right? My address
his phone
is...
number is
Oh, ladies.
do a Kaissi on Twitter, DuaKaissi on Twitter.
All right. And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Joe K. Braswell. Twitter and Instagram at Joe K. Braswell. Thank you very much for joining us. Oh, Nando Vell is at Nando Vell. You can find him on Twitter at Nando Vell and Instagram on at
You
Nando
can't
Vell.
find him here right now.
No, you cannot, but you'll find him here next week.
Along with...
Who? Oh, maybe a special guest, but
All
we'll
right.
see.
Keep it out
For
there.
the lovely Marissa Serafini, I'm Joe Braswell and Joe Sanfelippo and do a Kaissi. Blah, 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 blah. We'll see you next week.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.
Thank you for watching AfterBuzz TV on YouTube. For more of your favorite after shows and interviews, subscribe to our channel here, and be sure to share your opinion on the episode in the comment section below here. We'd love to see what you guys are buzzing about. Thanks again. Buzz you later.